What's up, guys? Usually I reserve these videos for Buffalo Bills analysis and reactions and previews, but in this case I'm going to switch it up, and don't worry, Bills fans, I'll get to that, but I'm going to switch it up, do a little playoff preview because I think that's important as well, to be diverse, to broaden my horizons, so to say. First of all, I want to thank you guys for watching. You can follow me on Twitter. My handle is the same as my username for YouTube, so you can do that. Ask me any question. I'll pretty much answer everything. But let's get right into it. I don't want to waste too much time. Let's start with the AFC because that's where the Bills play. And you got the 3 seed Houston taking on the 6 seed Cincinnati. Houston might start Jake Delhomme at quarterback. I am not sure. TJ Yates has a head injury. I think that Houston may have but been in a better position for a first-round bye had Matt Schaub not got hurt. But they're still a very talented team, even without Mario Williams. So that just shows you the depth that they have. And they squeaked out a win earlier in the season against Cincinnati, 20-19 in Cincinnati. Take a look at the Bengals, and I was impressed with the Bengals. I think Andy Dalton's got a bright future. A.J. Green is phenomenal. That defense is outstanding. Mike Zimmer might even get a head coaching job if he plays his cards right. But towards the end of the season, they sort of tapered off, I thought. And then you see them against Baltimore. They can't even sell tickets. They have to go 2 for 1. And then in a game that at the time they had to have, they just didn't play that well. Baltimore had to have it too, but Baltimore's on the road. And Baltimore was playing for the division, but Baltimore on the road and Cincinnati at the time needed that game to get into the playoffs until they found out the Raiders lost. And they didn't play that well. So I think going to Houston, a team that beat them earlier in the season on their own field, I think they'll struggle. I think, do you trust Dalton in his first playoff game? Do you trust the Texans in their first playoff game in franchise history with a rookie quarterback? Unless they go with Delhomme, the playoff experience. I just think the running game, despite Cincinnati's, they're outstanding on defense, but I think that Arian Foster and Ben Tate combination is going to be too much for Cincinnati, and I think Houston will advance. On the other side of the AFC, Pittsburgh and Denver, I'm not even entirely sure what to say. Even without Mendenhall, I don't think the Steelers really need him this week. I think that Tebow has clearly been not figured out completely, but Fox is sort of coaching him, and Skip Bayless says it all the time, not to lose. And I think that's sort of the way it is. Tebow needs to play, all out. And he doesn't do that for 3 quarters anyway. I think the Steelers will find success. Big Ben might be a little bit banged up. Against the Broncos defense that is good at times, not always great, but can be great, I think the Steelers will still handle him. I don't see Tebow moving the ball very well against that defense. I think Polamalu will sniff him out. Harrison, I don't know if Woodley's playing, but Timmons. I just think that the Steelers are too talented to lose to Denver, who went 8-8, snuck into the playoffs, needed their game, and scored 3 points at home. I don't see it. I think Pittsburgh will advance. Then you got Pittsburgh because they're the 6 seed, or they're the 5 seed, but they're the lowest seed remaining by virtue of Houston's win. Pittsburgh goes to New England, which I definitely find to be an interesting matchup, and that's where I think the Steelers will miss Mendenhall. I know you might say that, the Patriots have given up the most passing yards in NFL history. They have. but they also have Tom Brady, who is seemingly untouchable. They get down 21-0 to the Bills. Mind you, it's the Bills. And they just roll off 49 straight. I think the Patriots are good enough at home to beat the Steelers, especially without Mendenhall. I think that actually will really hurt them because the Steelers sort of become one-dimensional. Isaac Redman's not that great. Mewelde Moore, you know what you got. I think he averages like 7 yards a carry, but he only has like 10 on the season. So, like I said, you know what you got in the Steelers' offense is Big Ben, who's kind of hurt. I know that, they come off a good win at Denver. At least that's what I predict. They got to come back to the East Coast, play a Patriots team that's had a week off. I think the Patriots will be ready. And I think the Patriots will handle the Steelers, advance to the AFC Championship. Then you got Baltimore playing Houston. And Baltimore beat Houston handily with Matt Schaub. And I think Baltimore, I think they're like a sexy pick every year. I was on record, I don't know if I'm on here. I have witnesses that I picked the Ravens to go to the Super Bowl. So, you know who I'm picking here. I think the Ravens will beat the Texans. Great front seven. Ed Reed in the secondary with Jake Delhomme and TJ Yates. I don't think that... and then, Ray Rice for the Ravens. Flacco can still throw it. Bolden will be back if he stays healthy. Evans, Torrey Smith. I think Baltimore's got too many weapons offensively. Now Houston's good defensively, but I think Baltimore will figure that out, and they will be able to beat the Texans to advance to the AFC Championship. And I kind of played a little bit of a spoiler there by saying I thought the Ravens were going to go to the Super Bowl. I think they'll beat the Patriots. They did it on the road before. When they run the ball with Ray Rice, they're successful. And then Joe Flacco, everyone criticizes the Ravens for just putting too much on Flacco. But if you're against the Patriots, their defense is brutal in the secondary, at least. So they don't want to get into a shootout with the Patriots because the Patriots are really good at scoring points. But the Ravens' defense is very talented. Like I said, Ed Reed is no slouch, obviously. He's a future Hall of Famer. I think he'll help hold down Brady, those talented linebackers, and Suggs, Lewis, they'll get there. And I think the Ravens will advance to the Super Bowl for the first time since 2000 against the Giants. There you go, Ravens, AFC. Go over to the NFC. Falcons, Giants, in New York. It's a tough call. Now, Matt Ryan is a lot better at home than he is on the road. A lot better. And the Giants, I think, are hitting their strides. They're playing like the Giants that we know they can. But you never know when Eli is just going to come out and go 2 for his first 12 with an interception. You just never know. But the Falcons being a dome team in January in New York against a good defense like the Giants, I think they might have to play catch-up a little bit. I know the Giants struggle running the ball, but I think they can expose the Falcons in the secondary, much like Aaron Rodgers did last year. I'm not saying Eli Manning is Aaron Rodgers, but I think he has the ability to carve them up. So I'm going to pick the Giants to beat the Falcons. Falcons are just struggling to go places, struggling in the playoffs. Good team, talented team, like them with Julio Jones, but they struggle come playoff time because they're not that good on the road. Detroit, New Orleans. New Orleans is unbeatable at home pretty much. At least it seems that way. Drew Brees is something else when they play at home. Everything works. He completes like 70% of his passes. Stafford will keep up to a point, but I don't think they'll keep up with the Saints. I think the Saints will win, not easily, but I think they'll win by a decent margin. mostly just because they're at home. The Saints are a completely different team on the road, but I think they'll win at home and advance. The Saints would, if they beat the Lions and the Giants win, the Saints, being the 3 seed, will play at San Francisco. It's not going too far out west for them because they're already in Louisiana. I mean, it's going out west, way out west, but not, East Coast, West Coast type of situation. San Francisco has sort of come back to reality a little bit. They're still a pretty good team. If Patrick Willis is healthy, that defense is something else. Dante Whitner, the former Bill, is even playing pretty well. San Francisco has a boatload of talent on defense. They have Frank Gore, who I'm sure nobody wants to see a healthy Frank Gore. No defense wants to see a healthy Frank Gore because he is, a powerful running back. And the Saints are without Mark Ingram. They have Darren Sproles, who is probably the best pickup. Reggie Bush out, Darren Sproles in. Good for them. It works. But Chris Ivory and Pierre Thomas, they're probably still okay. And do I trust Alex Smith to beat Drew Brees in the playoffs? I don't know. Brees is just like a man possessed right now. And I think I'm gonna pick the Saints to beat the 49ers on the road. Even though, like I said, the Saints are kind of a different team on the road, and we see that. We saw it against the Titans a couple weeks ago. They're not the same team. They don't click as well when they're outdoors, but the weather will be fine, probably. And I think the Saints will get it done. Advance to the NFC Championship. Other side, Green Bay Giants. Now, I think the Giants probably have the best chance of upsetting the Packers, but not at Lambeau. I know they did it a couple years ago when Brett Favre was the quarterback, but I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to make the kind of mistakes Brett Favre made to give the Giants those opportunities. I just can't see the Packers losing at home. I know the Giants gave him a run back in New York and almost knocked him off. And then look at Aaron Rodgers in 30 seconds, goes down the field, gets a field goal. Just so much talent on that team. Jordy Nelson, where'd he come from? We knew he was good, but was he this good, or is he just a product of the system? He's a good player. Jennings will be back, and I think that'll make a big difference as well. So I think the Packers will beat the Giants. I don't think it'll be an easy game by any means, but I think they'll get the job done at home. They'll advance to the NFC Championship, get a rematch of Week 1, Packers at home against the Saints. And there's a matchup everybody wants to see. So much offense. 2 premier quarterbacks in the NFL. Just a great matchup. The Packers were up on the Saints pretty good in Week 1. The Saints battled back, made a game of it, came down to the last play. That just shows you Drew Brees. But Drew Brees on the road in September, it might not be Drew Brees on the road in January. We saw Drew Brees a couple years ago and get his team to the Super Bowl. But a couple years before that, we saw him go on the road to Chicago and lose in the playoffs. When it's cold, I don't know how much that. When it's cold like that, it's better to run the football, obviously. And neither team runs the football that well. And I just think that Aaron Rodgers will embrace that environment, the Lambeau Field environment in the playoffs in January, NFC Championship. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk by any means, but I think the Packers will beat the Saints, advance to the Super Bowl, play the Baltimore Ravens. That's what I picked at the beginning of the season, and I have witness. I picked at the beginning of last season too, and I have that on audio, but I picked Green Bay to win. So I picked the eventual champion. Now I'm just trying to pick the Super Bowl right. Green Bay, Baltimore. Here we go. Looks like a good matchup because Baltimore runs the football. Green Bay's not that great on defense. They're one of the worst teams in the league in terms of yardage, at least. So can Baltimore run the ball with Ray Rice like they should, keep Aaron Rodgers off the field? But when Aaron Rodgers gets on the field, how does that Baltimore defense respond? How do they attack the wide sets? Nelson, Jennings. They don't have great corners. They got good safeties, but they don't have the great corners. They got good linebackers. Might be able to take away Finley, but they've proven they can win without Finley. So it might come down to the play of Starks and or Ryan Grant. I mean, obviously, they might just be an X factor. It's going to come down to the play of Aaron Rodgers, because that's who the Packers essentially rely on. And I know you probably might say, well, look what Matt Flynn did. That was against the Lions, who are still pathetic on defense. I still think many teams can light them up on defense. But that said, I don't think Joe Flacco would be ready for this spotlight. I know it's easy to just hand the ball to Ray Rice, but I think eventually Joe Flacco is going to have to make a play. He'll make some, but I don't think in the clutch he'll be able to outshine Aaron Rodgers. And I think the Packers will take the Super Bowl over the Ravens. 31-23. There you go. It was 31-26 last year, right? 31-23 this year. Guys, I want to thank you. This video is, wow, longest video ever. So if you came this far, you really love football, you really love the playoffs, you really love the sound of my voice, you got comments, anything, let me know. Put it there. Rep your team, that's fine. I'll be back in a couple weeks with some more Bills videos, reactions, draft, previews, etc. Guys, again, thank you so much for coming this far if you did. Enjoy your weekend and enjoy playoff football. And to the Bills fans, April's right around the corner. See you guys later.